And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, onto our dinosaur of the day, Tyrannosaurus. Well, Tyrannosaurus rex, really.
It feels weird to say it without the species name, even though we almost always skip the species.
Yeah, but for this one, and as Garrett mentioned in the beginning of the episode, we are revisiting this one from episode 1 because we are celebrating Tyrannosaurus rex for our 200th episode, and this is the first time we've revisited a dinosaur. We very rarely do this, but seemed like a special enough occasion. So as Samuel L. Jackson would say, hold on to your butts. T-Rex was one of the last non-avian dinosaurs before non-avian dinosaurs went extinct, and it was named in 1905 by Henry Fairfield Osborn. Its name means tyrant lizard king, and it was named for its large size and for presumably being the apex predator of its time. It was a bipedal carnivore. It had a giant skull and a long, heavy tail, and as everyone knows, the short forelimbs with the 2 quad digits, even though they were short relative to the rest of its body, they were still very powerful. T-Rex was one of the largest known carnivorous theropods. They may have grown up to 40 feet, 12.3 meters long, and up to 12 feet or 3.66 meters tall at the hips, and may have weighed up to 8.4 to 14 metric tons or 9.3 to 15.4 short tons. They might have grown larger, actually, but to know that for sure, we would need more fossils.
Yeah, it's hard to know how big a fossil could have gotten that you haven't found yet.
Yes, which Jack Horner said in our interview with him a while back. T-Rex was probably an apex predator. It probably ate hadrosaurs and ceratopsians and ankylosaurs, possibly sauropods. Jack Horner used to say that it was a scavenger, but it was mostly to get people to start thinking critically about whether it would be or not.
And how we might tell.
Yeah. However, most predators do scavenge when the opportunity arises, so T-Rex probably did too. T-Rex lived in the Cretaceous in what is now Western North America on Laramidia. T-Rex fossils have been found in different ecosystems, inland, coastal, subtropical, and semi-arid plains, so they had a wider range than other tyrannosauroids. More than 50 T-Rex specimens have been identified, some of them nearly complete. And just a quick background, Tyrannosaurus is the type genus of Tyrannosauroidea, which is the superfamily, Tyrannosauridae, which is the family, and Tyrannosaurinae, which is the subfamily.
So it goes Tyrannosauroidea on top, then Tyrannosauridae, and then finally Tyrannosaurinae.
Yes.
In increasing specificity, and then I guess Tyrannosaurus at the very last bit.
Yes. So Arthur Lakes first found T-Rex teeth in 1874 in Golden, Colorado, and John Bell Hatcher had found bones in eastern Wyoming in the early 1890s that were thought to be Ornithomimus grandus at first, but is now considered to be T-Rex. Edward Drinker Cope found vertebrae fragments in South Dakota in 1892 and originally classified them as Manospondylus gigas, a ceratopsid, but now those are considered to be T-Rex. And Manospondylus gigas means giant porous vertebra. That refers to the openings in the bone for blood vessels.
Or for lightning from like air sac pressure into it, potentially.
Mm-hmm. Osborn recognized the similarities between T-Rex and Manospondylus back in 1917. However, Manospondylus was too fragmentary, so he did not synonymize them. Black Hills Institute found the type locality of Manospondylus in June 2000 and found more tyrannosaur bones, and they were considered to be from the same individual and the same as those of a T-Rex.
Which should make Manospondylus the actual name of Tyrannosaurus, and then make Tyrannosaurus a junior synonym.
Yes. However, an ICZN ruling in 2000 said that a name that's been considered valid for 50 years can't be replaced by a name considered invalid during that time, plus some other stipulations, all of which apply here. So the T-Rex name stays, which is a good thing. It's got a more exciting meaning.
Than Manospondylus, yeah.
Yeah. Barnum Brown found the first partial T-Rex skeleton in Wyoming in 1900, and Osborn originally named it Dynamasaurus imperiosus in a paper in 1905. In 1902, Brown found another partial T-Rex skeleton in Montana in the Hell Creek Formation. Osborn described this skeleton as the holotype of T-Rex in the same 1905 paper where he described Dynamasaurus. In 1906, Osborn said that the two specimens were synonyms and said that T-Rex was the valid name, which was a good choice. The Dynamasaurus bones are in the collections of the Natural History Museum in London. Other synonyms to T-Rex include Dinotyrannus megagracilis and Stygivenator molnari. Only holotypes of Dinotyrannus and Stygivenator have been found, and they're now considered to be of a juvenile T-Rex. Dinotyrannus megagracilis was originally named Albertosaurus megagracilis, and that was found in the same formation as T-Rex. There's also Oblisodon lancensis, which is now considered to be either a juvenile T-Rex or a nanotyrannus. And of course, there are debates on the validity of Nanotyrannus lancensis. Some think that that skull is of a juvenile T-Rex. Some of the differences people have argued, though, is that Nanotyrannus has more teeth, and some scientists think that the two should be separate until more studies are done. And in our interview, Thomas Carr mentioned that the description of Nanotyrannus talked about the damage to the skull and described either juvenile features or features of T-Rex, so you know where he stands. There's also some controversy over whether Tarbosaurus bataar from Mongolia is a second species of Tyrannosaurus or its own genus. In 1955, Evgeny Maleev named Tyrannosaurus bataar from Mongolia, and this was renamed Tarbosaurus bataar by 1965, and many think that they are sister taxon. Tarbosaurus is thought to have a narrower skull and a different kind of bite, although there were studies in 2014 and 2016 that found that they're closely related, and then in 2016, Steve Brusati, Thomas Carr, and others found that Tyrannosaurus may have been from Asia and possibly descended from Tarbosaurus. Also, T-Rex may have driven Tyrannosaurids native to North America to extinction via competition. However, in 2006, a study found that large Tyrannosaurs may have been in North America as early as 75 million years ago, though it's not clear if that was T-Rex or a new Tyrannosaur genus.
Well, it's probably not T-Rex because 10 million years would be a long time for it to be around.
True. On August 12, 1990, Sue Hendrickson found the most complete and largest T-Rex skeleton in the Hell Creek Formation in South Dakota that's been found so far. It's about 85% complete. And this T-Rex is nicknamed Sue. There was a legal battle over who owned it, which is covered in the documentary Dinosaur 13, and it involves Pete Larson, who we interviewed in our first episode, which also talked about T-Rex. In 1997, it was settled in favor of the original landowner, Maurice Williams, and then the Field Museum of Natural History bought the skeleton at auction for $7.6 million. It was the most expensive dinosaur so far. Between 1998 and 1999, the Field Museum spent 25,000 hours preparing the bones.
Partly at Disney World.
Really?
Yeah. They had some weird joint deal where I think Disney might have paid partially for that $7.6 million or something.
Oh, I remember McDonald's. I didn't remember Disney.
Yeah, I think McDonald's was involved too. It was a whole huge corporate weird thing that went on.
Yeah. Well, Sue went on display May 17th, 2000, and is now one of the most famous T-Rex. And Sue the T-Rex actually has a Twitter account and over 42,000 followers, maybe more by the time this recording comes out.
The most followed dinosaur, perhaps?
Could be. I didn't look too closely. A study of Sue found that she was full-grown at age 19 and died at age 28, possibly from a bite to the back of the head, but this isn't confirmed, and later studies actually didn't find bite marks. She had damage to the back of her skull. She was possibly trampled after her death. It's possible that she died of starvation after getting a parasitic infection from eating contaminated meat. She may have gotten an inflammation in her throat and then been unable to swallow food. And this is based on her having smooth-edged holes in her skulls, which are similar to modern-day birds that have had the same parasite, which sounds like a terrible way to go. There's another famous T-Rex, Stan, which is nicknamed in honor of Stan Sacrison. And Stan was found in 1987 in the Hell Creek Formation in South Dakota, though wasn't collected until 1992. Originally, Stan was thought to be a Triceratops skeleton. Stan is 63% complete. You can see Stan on display at the Black Hills Institute of Geological Research in Hill City, where Pete Larson is, and that's in South Dakota. There's many casts and museums all over the world of Stan, too.
Yeah, we've seen them all over the place. And at one of them, we told someone working there, oh, we saw the original one, the Black Hills Institute in South Dakota, and they're like, that's not where the original is. That's crazy. They didn't believe us. We're like, no, we saw it. We know the guy who dug it up. Why don't you believe us? They're like, they wouldn't put that there.
We didn't look like we knew what we were talking about, apparently.
I guess.
So Stan's had many pathologies. He's had broken and healed ribs, broken and healed neck, and a hole in the back of his head that's about the size of a T-Rex tooth. Jack Horner found 5 T-Rex skeletons in Montana in 2000.
That's crazy.
Yeah. In 2001, a crew from the Burpee Museum of Natural History found a 50% complete juvenile T-Rex in Hell Creek in Montana, nicknamed Jane. And Jane was thought to be the first known skeleton of Nanotyrannus, but now is thought to be a juvenile T-Rex. She's on display at the Burpee Museum. Because a wide range of T-Rex specimens have been found, scientists have estimated its lifespan and how fast T-Rex grew. The smallest known T-Rex is the Jordan theropod, which was estimated to weigh 66 pounds or 30 kilograms and died at age 2. The largest one is Sue, who's estimated to weigh 12,460 pounds or 5,650 kilograms and died at age 28. Juvenile T-Rex tend to be under 4,000 pounds or 1,800 kilograms until they're around age 14, and then they grow quickly, gaining an average of 1,300 pounds or 600 kilograms each year for 4 years, and then their growth slows again.
Pretty similar to humans. They're like a teenage growth spurt.
But on a much smaller scale for humans.
Yeah.
Another study found that the growth rate was actually faster at 4,000 pounds or 1,800 kilograms, which is very different from 1,300 pounds, though the authors said that it had a smaller gap between its actual growth rate and the one expected of it based on its size. The slowdown of its growth rate may indicate maturity. B-Rex, which was a 16 to 20-year-old T-Rex found in Montana, was found to have medullary tissue in its femur, and medullary tissue is only found in female birds during ovulation, so B-Rex was able to reproduce. More than half of the known T-Rex specimens died within 6 years of reaching maturity, as seen in other tyrannosaurs, and some modern large birds and mammals.
That's assuming that the fossil record isn't biased. I guess that pertains to its range, too.
Right. Not many juvenile T-Rex fossils have been found. This is possibly due to low mortality rates. They grew up, so they weren't fossilized as juveniles. Or it's because not enough fossils have been found, or because fossils that were collected tend to be larger. Thomas Holtz Jr. suggested in 2013 that dinosaurs, quote, lived fast and died young, which means they reproduce quickly, unlike mammals that take longer to reproduce. Gregory Paul also said that T-Rex reproduced quickly and died young, possibly because they lived dangerous lives. Scientists analyzed the variation in body types of T-Rex and found two types, the robust type and the gracile type. The robust type has been attributed to females in the past. They had a wider pelvis, maybe to pass eggs through, and they had a smaller chevron on the first tail vertebra, so also possibly to help eggs pass through. However, a 2005 study cast doubts on this sexual dimorphism. Also, Sue had a full-size chevron on the first tail vertebra, so that doesn't help differentiate. Instead of sexual dimorphism, the differences in body types could be because of geography or age. Maybe older animals were the robust ones. Only B-Rex is the likely female, because only female birds have medullary tissues naturally. However, studies have found that crocodiles do not have medullary tissue. T-Rex had a large head and could bite in the backs and necks of dinosaurs that were prey. Montana State University has the largest T-Rex skull found so far. It's 59 inches or 150 centimeters long, compared to Sue's 55.4 inches or 141 centimeter long skull. And that was found in the 1960s and recently reconstructed. There's a press release that came out in 2006. The skull had large fenestra or openings to reduce the weight, and T-Rex had a narrow snout, but the skull was wide in the back, which helped with having good binocular vision. Also, the eye sockets faced mainly forwards, which helped with the good binocular vision. Kent Stevens found that T-Rex had great vision. A study found that T-Rex had a binocular range of 55 degrees, which is better than a hawk, and T-Rex would have been able to see objects as far as 3.7 miles or 6 kilometers away.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what that was related to a person, and I found something saying that a person can see about 2 miles, I think, in a similar sort of fashion, so maybe it's about twice as far as a person.
Crazy. Lawrence Wittmer and Ryan Ridgely found that T-Rex had heightened sensory abilities, these rapid eye and head movements, also the ability to sense low-frequency sounds and had a good sense of smell. If T-Rex hunted its prey, then prey would have included Triceratops, ankylosaurs, and hadrosaurs that may have had these complex social behaviors, so precision would have been important to get in and out. T-Rex had large olfactory bulbs and nerves, and so they may have been able to smell carcasses from far away, comparable to modern vultures. And as I mentioned, they could hear low-frequency sounds. T-Rex had a relatively large brain for adult non-avian dinosaurs. In 2012, Carl Bates and Peter Falkingham said that T-Rex had the most powerful bite of any land animal. They found an adult could have been between 7,800 and 12,800 pounds of force in its back teeth, and some scientists have estimated higher. Greg Erickson and Paul Gignac said in 2017 that T-Rex could have bite forces of 1,900 to 7,700 pounds and could crush bones. Steven Lautenschlager and others found that T-Rex could open its jaw around 80 degrees and could have a wide range of jaw angles for biting. The tip of the T-Rex upper jaw was U-shaped, which meant it could rip out more tissue and bone in one bite, though that would have been stressful in its front teeth. T-Rex had heterodont teeth, different shapes. Jaws had up to 60 teeth, and the teeth have been described as, quote, like lethal bananas.
Yeah, I really like that description. It's pretty accurate.
Yeah. The largest T-Rex tooth found so far was 12 inches or 30.5 centimeters long, including the root when it was alive. So T-Rex, it had the heterodont teeth. That meant that they had different functions. This is according to a 2012 study. The front teeth were for gripping and pulling. The side teeth may have been for tearing flesh, and the back teeth could have diced up pieces of meat. The T-Rex teeth were wide and a bit dull, so it could withstand force by struggling prey. T-Rex may have had a septic bite. William Abler hypothesized that teeth serrations may have had pieces of meat with bacteria in them, which would make T-Rex bites deadly, like Komodo dragons were thought to have. Jack Horner said that T-Rex serrations were more cube-like than round in shape, like a Komodo dragon's teeth. However, all saliva could contain deadly bacteria, so that may not have been a method for killing prey. T-Rex had an S-shaped curved neck that was short and muscular. In 2007, Eric Snively and Anthony Russell found that T-Rex neck muscles were so strong T-Rex would have been able to throw a piece of meat that weighed 110 pounds 15 feet into the air and then catch it again, which is terrifying. According to Michael Habib, T-Rex had thick neck muscles to hold its skull and give it a more powerful bite force. The neck muscles compete for space in the shoulder with arm muscles, and the neck is bigger than the arms. And according to Habib, long arms are more easily broken and take more energy and can get disease, so the short arms may have been more beneficial to T-Rex.
Also just bone in general, taking a lot of extra resources.
True. A 2016 study suggested that large theropods like Tyrannosaurus had lips that covered their teeth based on the fact that they had enamel, and enamel would need to stay hydrated. Thomas Carr and others found in 2017 that Tyrannosaurs had large flat scales on their snouts with small keratinized patches, and they suggested that Tyrannosaurs had sensory neurons under the scales on their faces and may have used them to identify objects and measure the temperatures of nests and pick up eggs and hatchlings. The headlines were all about mating. Compared to the rest of its body, T-Rex arms are relatively small at about 3.3 feet or 1 meters long, and they have large areas for muscle attachment, so they were probably very strong. Osborn said in 1906 that the forelimbs may have been used to grasp a mate while mating, and others have suggested that T-Rex used its arms to help get it up after falling. The arms may have also been used to hold down prey while tearing it to pieces with its jaws.
Yeah, and it had pretty sharp claws too, so the arms would still definitely be useful.
Mm-hmm. T-Rex forelimb bones had thick cortical bone, which might mean it could withstand heavy loads. An adult T-Rex biceps brachii muscle could lift 439 pounds or 199 kilograms, and it had other muscles to make it even more powerful.
It was like over a 400-pound curl then, with one arm.
Yeah. T-Rex arms did have a limited range of motion. The shoulder joints could only move 40 degrees, and the elbow joints could only move 45 degrees. So all of these factors may mean that T-Rex used its arms to hold struggling prey. One scientist, Stephen Stanley, said that T-Rex may have used its arms for slashing prey, especially juvenile T-Rex, because the arms grew slower in proportion to their bodies.
So they weren't as disproportional as kids.
Right. Earlier tyrannosaurs like Eotyrannus had proportionately longer arms than T-Rex, and as tyrannosaurs got bigger over time, their arms got shorter. So some scientists think that this group would have eventually lost its arms if it kept evolving, but we'll never know for sure.
I think that's feasible since you've got stuff like carnivorous with the really, really tiny arms. That's really the dinosaur, the big carnivore with the smallest arms.
Yeah,
and
true.
There's basically nothing left at that point.
When T-Rex was first found, they had only found the humerus part of the forelimbs, so Osborn mounted his T-Rex in 1915 to have 3 fingers like Allosaurus. Lawrence Lamb had described the 2 fingers of Gorgosaurus, a close relative, in 1914, but this wasn't confirmed for T-Rex until 1989 when the Wankelrex was found with complete forelimbs. Sue also has complete forelimbs. T-Rex had many hollow bones to help it reduce weight, and it had a long tail that helped balance its head and body. The tail sometimes had over 40 vertebrae. A juvenile T-Rex may have had feathers, but adult T-Rex probably had no feathers. Skin impressions that have been found show it had a pebble-like structure. Others say that there's no direct evidence that T-Rex had feathers, but it's likely to have had feathers on at least parts of the body, based on related species having feathers. For example, Dilong had feathers. Scientists think that feathers may have been related to body size, where juveniles were feathered and then shed them and only had scales when they got bigger because they no longer needed the insulation, though some large tyrannosauroids had feathers covering most of the body, so it's not clear if this hypothesis is true. An example of this is Eotyrannus. It was 30 feet or 9 meters long, weighed up to 3,100 pounds or 1,400 kilograms, and it had feathers on various parts of its body, which may mean that its whole body was covered in feathers. Skin impressions of a T-Rex specimen found in Montana in 2002, nicknamed Yrex, showed small patches of scales. It's possible that feathers in tyrannosaurids varied based on body size, climate, or other factors. In March 2005, Mary Higby Schweizer and others said that they had found soft tissue from the marrow cavity of a T-Rex leg bone found in the Hell Creek Formation. It had blood vessel tissue and microstructures resembling blood cells that somewhat resembled ostrich blood cells and vessels. It's not clear if something strange happened to preserve these or if the material is original, though if it is original, it would help scientists figure out some of the DNA content of dinosaurs. And it's possible that no one had found this before because they didn't think it was possible, and so they weren't looking. Since then, these tissue-like structures have been found in 2 more tyrannosaurs and a hadrosaur.
It wouldn't be much of the DNA content, though. It's basically just a protein, which is a very, very small piece.
Yes, but still exciting.
Yeah.
In 2007, Assar and others found that 7 traces of collagen proteins found in T-Rex bone most closely matched those in chickens. Finding proteins in fossils so old changed scientists' views of fossils, because before it was thought that fossilization replaced all living tissue with minerals. More studies in 2008 showed the close connection between T-Rex and modern birds. In 2008, Thomas Kay and others questioned the soft tissue in T-Rex, saying that it was actually slimy biofilm made by bacteria. And they found that what had been thought to be remnants of blood cells were actually framboids. They had iron presence, which were microscopic mineral spheres with iron. The researchers had found similar spheres in other fossils from different periods, including ammonite. In the ammonite, the spheres were found in a place where the iron could not have been related to the presence of blood. Schweitzer criticized this study, saying that there's no reported evidence that biofilms can produce branching hollow tubes like the ones that she found in her study. In 2011, San Antonio, Schweitzer, and others published details on the parts of the collagen that had been recovered, which were the inner parts of the collagen coil, as expected from a long period of protein degradation. For a long time, it was thought that T-Rex and other dinosaurs were ectothermic, or basically cold-blooded. In the 1960s, Bob Bacher and John Ostrom challenged this idea in the dinosaur renaissance. T-Rex was thought to be endothermic, warm-blooded, and active. The growth rates indicate that it had a high metabolism. Reese Barrick and William Showers looked at the oxygen isotope ratios in a T-Rex torso vertebrae and tibia. This ratio is sometimes used to determine the temperature of the bone when it was deposited. They found very little difference in temperature, only 4 to 5 degrees Celsius or 7 to 9 degrees Fahrenheit, which they said indicated that T-Rex had a constant internal body temperature, known as homeothermy, and had a metabolism in between ectothermic reptiles and endothermic mammals. Some scientists said that the ratio of oxygen isotopes in fossils from today do not necessarily represent the same ratio in the past, and they may have changed during fossilization. In later papers, Barrick and Showers said that they found similar results in Giganotosaurus. Even if T-Rex had evidence of homeothermy, it doesn't mean that it was endothermic. T-Rex may have had a warm-blooded metabolism through gigantothermy, where its surface area was small compared to its volume and mass, and that meant less area for heat to escape the body, which raised its base temperature. Several footprints have been found that may have been from a T-Rex. One track was found in 1983 in New Mexico that was 33 inches or 83 centimeters long and 28 inches or 71 centimeters wide. One track found in 2007 in Montana had a 28-inch or 72-centimeter long one. It wasn't clear if that was T-Rex. And one track found in 2016 in Wyoming was thought to be either from a juvenile T-Rex or a nanotyrannus.
Yeah, it's really hard to identify which exact animal a track comes from. But I guess since it was so huge, you might think like, well, it's a theropod track and it's too big to be anything else.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different estimates for T-Rex max speed, mostly 25 miles per hour, 40 kilometers per hour. Some are as low as 11 to 25 miles per hour, or 18 to 40 kilometers per hour, and some are as high as 45 miles per hour, or 72 kilometers per hour. And this is based on the tracks found, but not many have been found of large theropods running.
Yeah, I don't think we really have any running tracks, maybe like 1 or 2, because they spend literally 99.9 something % of their time walking. So it's hard to find a running track.
Yeah. There's another study in 2017 that found T-Rex could reach a max speed of 17 miles per hour or 27 kilometers per hour. Most recent research on T-Rex locomotion suggests that T-Rex reached max speeds of 25 miles or 40 kilometers per hour, and that faster speeds were not possible because they required very big leg muscles. However, it's unknown how large T-Rex leg muscles were. In 2007, there was a study with computer models that estimated running speeds of up to 18 miles per hour or 29 kilometers per hour. Even a max speed, though, of 11 miles per hour or 18 kilometers per hour is faster than a lot of prey, like some hadrosaurs and ceratopsians. So there's a lot of debates whether or not T-Rex could run. It's possible that T-Rex didn't run. T-Rex may have also been slow to turn. It might have taken 1 to 2 seconds to turn 45 degrees, and this is based on its center of mass being far from its center of rotation.
Yeah, and I think it also would have had a high moment of inertia, basically with its head so far out front and its tail so far behind it. The force required to spin that kind of thing. It's like that old analogy for ice skating with your arms out versus in. When you have that really long length around the thing that you're spinning, it takes a lot of energy and time to spin. So that was also probably an issue.
Yeah, good point. In 1993, Jack Horner and Don Lessem said that T-Rex was slow and probably couldn't run because the ratio of its femur and tibia was larger than 1, like in many other large theropods and in modern elephants. In 1998, Christensen said that T-Rex leg bones were not much stronger than elephants and suggested a max speed of 25 miles per hour, but this is based on many dubious assumptions. In 1995, Farlow and others said that T-Rex, weighing between 5.4 and 7.3 metric tons, 6 to 8 short tons, would have been seriously or fatally hurt if it fell while moving quickly and its small arms could not help on impact. However, giraffes can run up to 31 miles per hour, 50 kilometers per hour, though they can break a leg or be fatally hurt. So it could be that T-Rex ran when necessary.
Yeah, we do see a lot of T-Rex with broken gastralia or those belly ribs, so that kind of makes sense.
The belly flops. In 2017, William Sellers and others found via a computer model that T-Rex could not run because of high skeletal loads. They estimated T-Rex to weigh 7 tons, and the model showed that moving more than 11 miles per hour would have shattered the T-Rex leg bones.
There's also that thing we talk about with close running, where birds don't necessarily have to be a full run or a walk the way people do, and then there's like a pretty big speed gap in the middle. They can kind of pick a lot of speeds in between. So saying it couldn't run, it might have been able to do some pretty extreme power walking anyway and still be pretty quick.
Yeah. In 2011, Heinrich Mallison proposed that T-Rex and other dinosaurs could have moved quickly by power walking, like you said. They found a few similarities in dinosaurs and race walkers with less muscle mass in the ankles and more muscle mass in the hindquarters. However, John Hutchinson cautioned that scientists must first look into dinosaur muscles to see how frequently they contracted.
That's difficult.
Yes. However, T-Rex did have hollow bones and other features to make it more lightweight, and other animals such as ostriches have long, flexible legs and can run fast, but they take slow strides as well. T-Rex did have larger leg muscles than any current living animal. Gregory S. Paul said that T-Rex had a large ilium bone to help support large muscles for running and other features, and that one formula to calculate speed was not that reliable because it was too sensitive to bone length, making long bones artificially weak. He also said the risk of being hurt while fighting may have been worth the risk for T-Rex falling while running.
Yeah, if you're running away from danger.
In 2010, Scott Persons suggested that T-Rex may have had strong catafemoralis or tail muscles to help with its speed. It had certain muscle arrangements with some similarities to modern reptiles. The catafemoralis may have helped with running, agility, and balance. Additionally, a T-Rex tail muscle mass may have been underestimated by 25 to 45%. Having a larger catafemoralis means that the center of mass would be closer to the hindquarters and hips and would have helped it with rotating more quickly.
Yeah, and it also kind of draws the leg up, so it would help it lift its leg quicker too.
In 1998, Holt said that Tyrannosaurids and some close relatives had long shins and toes compared to other theropod femurs, and that Tyrannosaurids and relatives had tightly interlocked foot bones to help with locomotion, and therefore Tyrannosaurids and its close relatives were the fastest large theropods. In 2013, Holt said that large allosaurs had shorter feet than T-Rex, though they were similarly sized, and T-Rex had longer, skinnier, and more interlocked feet, which were attributes of animals that move faster. In 2003, Eric Snively and Anthony P. Russell said that T-Rex feet had a, quote, tensile keystone model to increase its stability and help it be more efficient and less strained. T-Rex metatarsals, which are foot bones, are arranged as digitigrade, where they form an extension to the lower leg bones, which increases the total length of the leg area and increases its stride, and this is seen in animals that run after other animals. So lots of debates over T-Rex in general. There's also been a lot of debate over whether T-Rex was a hunter or scavenger. In 1917, Lamb said that T-Rex was close to Gorgosaurus and therefore a scavenger because Gorgosaurus' teeth showed hardly any wear on them. However, theropods replace their teeth frequently, so not many people agreed. Jack Horner has argued that T-Rex was a scavenger, though not in scientific literature, and only as a tool to teach people, mostly kids, that you shouldn't make assumptions without evidence. Horner said that T-Rex could not be a predator because of its small eyes, small arms, couldn't hold its prey, and large legs made it slow. He also said it was a scavenger because of its great sense of smell and legs that were built for walking long distances.
But obviously, a lot of those things aren't entirely true.
Sure. T-Rex did have a great sense of smell, though, and could smell carcasses from far away, like vultures. In the hunter-scavenger debate, researchers said that T-Rex could not purely be a scavenger because modern pure scavengers, like vultures, glide to cover large areas efficiently. Others have said that T-Rex's ecosystem would have had many animals to scavenge, although T-Rex may have had to be cold-blooded to get enough calories from scavenging than the calories it spent foraging. They also argued that animals during T-Rex's time didn't have gliding scavengers, so there was no competition for this type of food. If T-Rex was a scavenger, it may have been big enough to steal food, but it may have been outnumbered by smaller theropods. Some of T-Rex prey could move pretty fast, so if T-Rex could only walk, it was probably more likely to scavenge. However, T-Rex may have been fast enough for large hadrosaurs and ceratopsians. Because T-Rex teeth could crush bone, it could get to the bone marrow, which is very nutritious, and recently described to us as meat butter. Garrett and Chin and others found bone fragments and coprolites from tyrannosaurs, though they said tyrannosaur teeth were not adapted to chew bone the way modern hyenas are to get to bone marrow.
Yeah, it's more like breaking it over your knee kind of thing.
As we mentioned, T-Rex's eyes pointed forward, so it had good binocular vision, which is found mostly in predators, so that points to a hunting behavior. Jack Horner has said that there's a trend of steadily improving binocular vision in tyrannosaurs, though it's not clear why if tyrannosaurs were scavengers. One Edmontosaurus skeleton has been found to have damage to its tail vertebrae from a T-Rex that healed, which shows that it probably survived an attack, and that meant a T-Rex tried to hunt it. There's also evidence of an attack on a Triceratops that had a partially healed tyrannosaur tooth mark on its neck frill and had a broken horn with new bone growth after the break. It's unclear who initiated this fight. It could have been either. Since the wounds healed, the Triceratops probably survived. In 2001, Bruce Rothschild and others did a study examining evidence of stress factors in tendon avulsions, which is injury to the bone where a tendon or ligament attaches to the bone, in theropods. In Tyrannosaurus and Allosaurus, they found avulsion injuries only in the forelimb and shoulder that suggests that their musculature was different from birds. They suggested that the tendon avulsion in the T-Rex was probably from struggling prey, which is evidence for being an active predator instead of scavenging for food. Most scientists, though, think that T-Rex was both a hunter and scavenger, like many large carnivores. Pete Larson found a broken and healed fibula and tail vertebrae on Sue, some scarred bones from the face, and a tooth from a different T-Rex in a neck vertebra. And this may mean that tyrannosaurs were aggressive with each other, though it's not clear if it would be about food or finding a mate, or if it was because they were being cannibalistic. Later studies found these wounds were infections or damage to the bones after Sue died, and not necessarily injuries, or that the injuries were pretty generic and not necessarily from a fight with another T-Rex. Phil Curry has suggested that T-Rex could have hunted in packs. He compared T-Rex to Tarbosaurus and Albertosaurus and mentioned 3 T-Rex skeletons found in South Dakota near to each other. He did CT scans and said that its brain was 3 times larger than expected for its body size, so it may have been capable of this kind of complex behavior. Prey such as Triceratops and Ankylosaurus would have been armored and fast, so T-Rex may have needed to hunt in groups. It's possible that juveniles and adults work together, with juveniles running down the prey and adults killing it. A lot of scientists, though, don't agree with this theory. This theory has not been peer-reviewed. It was part of his book Dino Gangs and a TV special. It's based on comparing T-Rex to different species, and the idea of Tarbosaurus hunting in packs hasn't been published in a peer-reviewed scientific journal yet. Other explanations for theropod skeletons ending up together could be droughts or floods. Lawrence Whitmer said that social behavior can't be determined by estimated brain sizes, though T-Rex may have had large enough brains for communal hunting, this semi-organized behavior. In July 2014, fossilized trackways found in Canada showed that tyrannosaurids may have hunted in packs. In 2010, Curry, Horner, Erickson, and Longridge suggested that T-Rex could be cannibalistic. They found T-Rex specimens with T-Rex tooth marks on their bones, the humerus, foot bones, and metatarsals, which might be evidence of opportunistic scavenging. These parts of the body didn't have much meat, so T-Rex may have been eating a carcass that had already been chewed on. It's possible that other tyrannosaurids were also cannibalistic. In 2009, a study found that holes in some Tyrannosaurus skulls that were thought to be from attacks from other Tyrannosaurus were actually from trichomonas-like parasites that often affect avians. However, Joseph Peterson and others found evidence that Jane, the juvenile T-Rex, was attacked by another T-Rex. Her skull had healed puncture wounds on the upper jaw and snout, probably from another juvenile T-Rex, and CT scans showed the wounds came from a traumatic injury and that there was some healing after. They also said Jane's injuries were structurally different from the parasite pathologies found in Sue. T-Rex used to be depicted as a living tripod with its tail dragging, similar to a kangaroo. Henry Fairfield Osborn posed his T-Rex skeleton at the American Museum of Natural History this way, and it stayed like that from 1915 until 1992, and that inspired many depictions in films and paintings, including Rudolph Zallinger's The Age of Reptiles mural in Yale University's Peabody Museum of Natural History. In the 1970s, scientists realized that this was not the right posture for T-Rex, and that it would have weakened or dislocated joints. And then Jurassic Park showed T-Rex in the more modern pose. T-Rex appears in many films, ads, post stamps, and other media. It's a very popular dinosaur and appears in many forms of media, and of course it's a popular name. Henry Fairfield Osborn said in 1905, quote, "I propose to make this animal the type of the new genus, Tyrannosaurus, in reference to its size, which far exceeds that of any carnivorous land animal hitherto described. This animal is, in fact, the new plus ultra of the evolution of the large carnivorous dinosaurs. In brief, it is entitled to the royal and high-sounding group name, which I have applied to it," end quote.
The royal and high-sounding group name. It's pretty accurate.
Osborn considered mounting the two T-Rex skeletons that were known at the time to face off over a carcass at the American Museum of Natural History, but then decided to mount just the one. On December 30th of 1905, the New York Times said T-Rex was, quote, "the most formidable fighting animal of which there is any record whatever, the king of all kings in the domain of animal life, the absolute warlord of the earth, and a royal man-eater of the jungle." In 1906, T-Rex was called the prize fighter of antiquity and the last of the great reptiles and the king of them all.
There's some good little quotes about T-Rex.
Good title, yeah. In 1927, Charles Knight painted a mural of Tyrannosaurus and Triceratops for the Field Museum of Natural History. You can see T-Rex in many films, including 1925's The Lost World, 1933's King Kong, 1918's The Ghost of Slumber Mountain, which shows a T-Rex facing off against Triceratops. T-Rex is often depicted as having 3 fingers in the early films, like in Fantasia. Walt Disney told Barnum Brown that it looked better that way.
Yeah, I could see that. 2 fingers look kind of weird.
Yeah. One of the first times T-Rex was portrayed in the proper posture without the tail dragging was the 1984 short Prehistoric Beast made by Phil Tippett with his Go Motion technique, which is stop motion animation and motion blur. Phil Tippett also worked on Jurassic Park, and they used CGI instead of stop motion. And when he first learned they'd use CGI, he said, "I've just become extinct," and Spielberg used that line in the movie.
When they said, like, "I think we're out of a job," and then somebody says, "You mean extinct?"
Yes. T-Rex is also in all the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World movies, the 1960 movie Dinosaurus, the 1966 movie 1 Million Years BC, The Last Dinosaur from 1977, The Land Before Time from 1988, We're Back, A Dinosaur Story from 1993, Tammy and the T-Rex from 1994, Theodore Rex from 1995, Toy Story from 1995, Pooh's Grand Adventure, The Search for Christopher Robin in 1997, Night at the Museum from 2006, Meet the Robinsons from 2007, Ice Age 3, Dawn of the Dinosaurs from 2009, The Good Dinosaur from 2015, and countless others. Also, Godzilla is a mixture of Tyrannosaurus, Stegosaurus, and Iguanodon. That's why it looks so weird. T-Rex has also appeared in Japanese animated films such as You Are Umasu from 2010. We did a review of that one. The Age of the Great Dinosaurs from 1979, Magic Treehouse from 2011, and Doraemon, Nobita's Dinosaur from 1980 and 2006. T-Rex has also been in many TV shows, including Barney and Friends, Dinosaur Train, The Wiggles, the 1974 Doctor Who Invasion of the Dinosaurs, Dinosaurs, the TV show with the Sinclairs, and many, many more. And T-Rex has also appeared in the TV documentary Dinosaurs from 1985, which used some scenes from the 1984 short Prehistoric Beast, the one by Phil Tippett. T-Rex has also appeared in documentaries including Walking with Dinosaurs, When Dinosaurs Roamed America, Dinosaur Planet, and more. And in books, including Jurassic Park and the sequel to Lost World, Primeval, Extinction Event, We're Back, A Dinosaur Story, and also many more.
Including Bolivar.
Yep. T-Rex is also in video games, on stamps, in comics, and as animatronics for various exhibitions. In Lake Buena Vista, Florida, you can go to T-Rex Cafe, where you eat food and hang out with life-size dinosaurs. And Mark Bolan, who was the lead singer of a popular band from the 1970s, first saw a T-Rex at the Natural History Museum in London and later named his band Tyrannosaurus Rex, which became T-Rex, and it was actually abbreviated properly with the T.Rex.
Yeah, rather than a hyphen like you usually see.
And they were a very influential British rock band in the 60s and 70s, and also the inspiration, as we mentioned in a recent episode, for the dinosaur that is in the Chrome game, or at least that was the code name for the dinosaur in the early designs. For those of you who listen to our Dinosaur of the Day segment and you like it, please consider becoming a patron. We take new Dinosaur of the Day requests from our patrons and offer a bunch of other perks as well. So check out our page at patreon.com/iknowdino or click the link on the left.